While traveling through Costa Rica, I was inspired to follow the positive examples of sustainability. I chose to fly NatureAir, the world's first carbon-neutral airline. I spoke to Tatiana, the Director of Corporate Social Responsibility.
CSR is a new dimension that understands that the ecological approach is totally related to the economic approach and the social approach. So the brand and the value of your brand is going to involve these three different things and not only the economical approach.
Can you explain what carbon neutrality means?
Every business has its impact. And NatureAir's impact is in terms of contamination because we need to run our planes. That's our business, planes. So all the contamination because of CO2, it's a lot. So we started looking for options. So how do we mitigate? How do we compensate the contamination we were producing? So we find partners in the government who told us, okay, if you tell us the amount of tons of CO2 that you are producing, we can tell you how to convert that into carbon neutral.
Do you support any other social charities?
We support Costa Rica's areas that we work with. For example, where we go, where we travel, where our airplanes go, those are the places that we help. How do we help? We understand that the government and the state has a responsibility, and we are not assuming their responsibility. We are complementing the areas that they are being in lack of, for example, in education with Nature Kids. What we do is that we provide complementary English education. So we give tools for self-reliance. We don't provide the education the state must give.
A visit to Nature Kids, with a few smiles and songs, made clear the positive influence on the community.
What is the concept behind Nature Kids?
To provide the community with low-cost English lessons and a family level. So we can include the whole family, and we have an emphasis on the nature because this is what we have around us.
Is English all you teach?
It's the emphasis, obviously, but we also combine it with other skills, such as computer skills recently, internet-related skills, and community service.
Do you teach them sustainability?
Yes, we do recycle, and we promote that, and everything is done with a thought. We recycle all the materials that we can, and we use very few papers. Most of our things are hand-on materials, recycled things that we use.
Nature Kids is located near a national park. The park was once home to ancient tribes, and a local guide led me to the site of their burial grounds.
Yes, some of these artifacts that were found here, for example, the metates that we can actually see right here on site, were instruments that the indigenous people used to, for example, grind corn or some types of roots that they ate. And the corn was really important in their diet because they made liquor, for example, and many other things like tortillas or tamales come from the indigenous tribes.
How were these people buried? Was there a ritual burial of any sort?
They believed that when you died, you actually you live another life. You pass on to another life, and then they were buried in boxes that were made out of stone too, and a lot of the stuff or belongings that you had in life were actually buried with you, and including jewelry and pottery and other stuff. Yeah, so these graves are actually hollow, and if you walk around the island, sometimes you can hear hollow on the ground, and that's where some of the graves are still remaining.
The Borucas were animist, were they not? And could you tell me something about their beliefs?
They believed in one big god that was Cebu, right? And this god was it lived in the earth, in the ground, right? And Cebu was the one that created everything. But something really interesting, for example, about their beliefs is that, for example, when Cebu created humans and also created the plants that were going to heal their diseases, and they say, and they have this legend that Cebu put all the different diseases to fight against all the different plants, and he was putting aside the plants that were winning over certain disease. So that's how he got the plants that were good for something, and then he transmitted that information to the first Awapa, which is the first shaman, right? and then the information keeps passing on through generations.
From the depths of the lush rainforest to the edge of the sparkling ocean, Costa Rica continues to enchant. Brad Johnson is the owner of Aguila de Osa Inn in Drake Bay. He came to Costa Rica on holiday over 20 years ago and couldn't bring himself to leave.
How come you ended up in Costa Rica?
A friend of mine in the 70s told me, I was living in Hawaii, and he told me, he said, you got to go to Costa Rica. It's like Hawaii was in the 50s, 40s and 50s. And it always stayed in the back of my mind, and I got here in '86 and I kicked myself in the butt that I didn't come in '73.
You began a foundation with a group of people. What was the reason for that?
They started building a road to come to Drake Bay. And when they first opened up the road, the first thing they went to was an old man's farm, and they cut down 85 first growth trees. So myself and 2 other hoteliers decided that we had to fight this, because if this was what was going to happen, it was going to hurt our business, you know. So we started the Corcovado Foundation, and from there we've done a lot of things for the Osa. One is we've stopped all the cutting of the trees in Osa. It took us about 2.5 years.
What does Pura Vida mean to you?
Pure life, something that's great, something that really, as a Tico, and it only means, the word only means something in Costa Rica and not anyplace else, and it just means everything's okay, everything's great.
Drake Bay is also home to Osa Sea Turtle Conservation, a part of Brad's foundation that nurtures the nesting habitat of sea turtles. At least 5 separate species of sea turtle exist in Costa Rica, but their numbers are sadly depleting as egg poaching rises in popularity. I spoke with 2 young students who have traveled from separate corners of the globe to join the cause.
So this is a turtle conservation project, is that right?
That's the primary focus of the project, is to protect the population of olive ridley turtles that nest at this beach and in this area.
Why is it necessary for us to protect them?
Well, for the sake of this population, we've seen something like an 80% reduction in the population just in the last 20 years.
It's very important here to work with the community, also not only the working with the turtles, the environmental education, to teach them not to go on doing it, because if not, nothing works.
So you collect the eggs from the beach and then you place them in the hatchery.
That's one of the main things we do, especially during the night. If we find nests on the beach during the night, since we're patrolling the whole time, we know that that nest is fresh. The turtle, if we haven't seen the turtle, at least we know that it's in the last hour that it's been left there. So we know that we can move the eggs without damaging the development of the eggs. And the reason we move them is that the turtles unfortunately leave big tracks, very obvious signs that would direct any poacher to exactly where the eggs are. They leave tracks when they come on the beach and when they leave, and they also leave a big depression in the sand, which we call a cama, a bed, which is where the nest is. And you just need about 30 seconds with a stick, poking it in the sand to discover exactly where the eggs are. So what we do is remove the eggs and actually the sand from the nest as well, which has all the liquid from the eggs in it. So we remove the whole lot and transfer it to another part on the beach. And we can do it in a much more clandestine manner and leave very few clues behind. We can camouflage our work and our footprints very easily. Or if we're close enough to here, we'll relocate it to the hatchery where it's protected against natural predators as well. The nature here is extraordinary. The bird life, the jungle. I mean, you see the way that the jungle just drops off into the sea, and beautiful lagoons, and it's just, I guess, the opportunity to get that close to species that normally just seem so exotic and mysterious. But now I feel like I know them, like as if I grew up with them.
Everyone on my journey had a different meaning for pure life. But to me, it is the essence of authenticity in Costa Rica. It is passion, contagious and hypnotic, pulsing from the jungle and reverberating throughout the nation. A spiritual energy that ensnares even the most hardened cynic. Some grew up here and some have journeyed across the globe, but all who experience Costa Rica are reluctant to leave. I'm tempted to drop my bags and join the dance, live out the rest of my days under the jungle canopy, among the tree nymphs and woodland fairies. But unexplored magic and mysteries await me elsewhere. With the melody of Costa Rica etched in my mind, I will continue my spiritual voyage. Who knows where I will find my next song?
I'm first. Okay, so it's about 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Banana flambe, banana flambe, banana flambe, banana flambe, banana flambe. Yeah!
Acidity, that has more.
That was 2, yeah.
Help! Help! I'm on an island!